Hey, it's Julie Ziemelis, 365 Hawaii, and I am here with Amber Haley, and we are here to give you the East Hawaii housing update. And today we will be talking about statistics, and we're going to also be talking about some of the challenges that buyers in East Hawaii are facing, and some tips that you need to know about buying housing on this island in general. So, Amber, let's talk about maybe what's happening with the housing market in general, and then you can give them some statistics.
Okay, so in general, there just seems to be a lot of confusion with the housing market right now. We saw a crazy housing market on the Big Island, and the whole country really did, starting, early 2020, and it went like crazy. And then probably about April of this year, I would say, we saw things kind of start to change. And now we're seeing things really start to change because of interest rates, right?
Right, rising interest rates.
Rising interest rates, which is something that we've all really known is going to happen because they have been so low. I mean, I've met people that have interest rates like in the twos. Like, that's unheard of if you look at historical interest rates for housing over decades. Things are changing. We're seeing a lot of hesitation, a lot of confusion with buyers and sellers. Did I miss the boat? Should I wait? Is there going to be like a big bubble burst? Like, I'm hearing all these different theories. And so that's kind of where I'm at this week. I'm kind of talking to my peers, talking to my clients. I'm hearing a lot of different opinions. I'm hearing a lot of different words thrown around, like we are in a totally, bubble bursting moment, or we're just kind of switching gears, or we're slowing down, or this or that. But I like to look kind of at the data and the numbers.
There we go.
So I'm going to kind of hold out on saying too much about.
Okay. Well, and I'll tell you what our brokerage, they're using the word shift.
Shift. I like the word shift because
things are changing.
They are changing.
But they aren't saying crashing.
Yeah.
They're just saying changing, shifting.
Yeah.
And some of the shift is downward.
Yes.
And so then let's see what the stats say. What are you looking at?
Okay, so the latest stats that we had come out, like, wow, I can't believe it's already August. So we're coming out of like on a traditional year, like the busy real estate market. It would be normal for things to kind of slow down a little bit this time of year. But over in East Hawaii, the two main districts that we look at as far as data goes are the South Hilo district, which includes Hilo Town, Hilo proper, Hilo Bayfront, all the neighborhoods surrounding there, and then the Puna district, where there's a lot of real estate that gets bought and sold there. That's a very active market.
Like Hawaii Paradise Park.
Yeah, Hawaiian Paradise Park is the biggest subdivision in the Puna district. So,
and then the one next to that is really big too. Orchid.
So there's Orchid Land. That might be one a lot of people watching this have looked at houses. Ainaloa also, and then you get a little farther south into those riskier lava zone neighborhoods like Nanavale and in Pahoa.
Okay, so just because I'm just in Kona, we talk about like Alihilani, and we talk about Pualani because they kind of are like in the same kind of subdivision. And so with HPP, it gives people an idea that that's kind of where they're going to start for one kind of like a house price, and then in Hilo proper is a little bit more expensive. So so let's hear it.
Okay, so what we're looking at right now for Puna, your median price is about $355,000 for a house, right? So that is still about an 18% increase from where it was at same time last year. So the market is still up from where it was a year ago. We can talk about maybe we'll start to see median home prices decrease on the Big Island, but I haven't seen it yet in East Hawaii. So we'll stay tuned for that. In the South Hilo, it's a little bit higher. The land's a little more valuable. So the latest data is sitting at about $477,000 is the median, and that is about 23% higher still than it was a year ago.
Okay. And if anyone watches this long enough, they'll know that I have ADD with asking questions about this. But when Amber came over today, I was looking at a house. I did check on the MLS about what you could get for about $600,000. And these are like run-of-the-mill houses for $600,000 in Hilo. So it says the median price is $400 and something. But really, to get a house that you don't have to do a whole bunch of work on, that maybe has already been updated, that is in like, a decent neighborhood, really is closer to 600.
Yeah, definitely. And you will see houses all the way up to over $1 million in Hilo as well. So there is the whole range, but a lot of the houses that are below that $600,000 price point are definitely, probably going to need some more work. They, might have some termite damage. They're built in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they've been around for a long time. They're weathered. So yeah, about 600,000 will maybe get you more of a move-in ready house.
There you go, move-in ready.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that also determines the price of the house is permitting, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. So, what about condos? And I know you guys don't have as many condos as we do here in West Hawaii, but what's a condo?
Oh yes, so we have hardly any condos. So our data, you kind of really have to take it with a grain of salt when you don't have a very big data point. Okay. So our condo, our median price is about $205,000 in South Hilo. We don't have condos in Puna. We don't really have condos, I don't think, anywhere else really on the east side.
Is it like what, 2 or 3 buildings? There's one down near the beach, down at the end where...
It's like a handful.
Okay, so it's a handful. So when people also, they say, what's an affordable way to live in Hilo? Can I just buy a condo? I'm like, there might be like, I don't know, 30 that you can buy, because those people have hung on for a long time. There's not a lot of turnover in the condos there.
It's
right?
very, very few and far between for condos, and some of them are leasehold as well, which is something that will be a conversation I think we'll have over and over again on these updates, is the difference between leasehold and fee simple. Fee simple obviously is much more valuable and has a higher
because you
price
actually
tag.
own the condo. They are rights, right?
Yeah.
Where leasehold, bad things can happen to you. Okay,
but
so
certainly much more affordable than over on this side.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you guys have a little bit more of a wet environment that does weird things to buildings too. Anyway,
we do. Hilo is, if not the rainiest, it's up there for a rainy city. It gets a lot of sunshine though too.
Yeah, there you go.
It's very green.
Don't sell us short.
Yeah, beautiful. It's beautiful in Hilo, but there's a reason why.
yeah, exactly. You have to have a lot of rain to go with that green. So okay, then what's happening down in Puna then for single family homes?
Okay, so for single family homes, we are at a lower price point. We're about $355, and like I said, we don't have condos in Puna, so that's going to be really single family homes. A lot of people realize that maybe they were looking for a condo maybe on the Kona side even, and they're priced out, and so they look on the Hilo side, and they're like, oh, it's not really what I was thinking. You can maybe buy a single family home in Puna instead, if that's something that fits with your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's different than condo living.
On the ocean in Kona.
Yeah. But, for some people, they're like, oh, I didn't realize I could afford a single family home. I thought I could only buy a condo in Hawaii. And the price point is a lot lower in the Puna district. So, especially if you can get a Lava Zone 3 house, I think that's a good place in this market for people to continue to look, that maybe if you are feeling discouraged from other areas.
Yeah. And then in terms of who you're seeing buying these houses lately, are these people who are coming in off island or moving up from the island, or you've sold some homes in there, right? Are these people coming in from the mainland who are buying these houses right now?
There is a mix. I tend to just personally work with more people who are coming from the mainland, so I personally see that more, but it's definitely a mix. And actually, one of the statistics that I heard last week from an economist here in Hawaii, he actually said that we're not seeing as many people from the mainland. It feels like it to a lot of us, because maybe that's who we work with more. But, our population here, overall in the state, is actually dwindling. And the people who were coming out here and buying, aren't as much as I kind of thought in my head, because that's who I deal with mostly day to day. But I do think it's a great time for people who have maybe were priced out, or it was so frantic and competitive, and those local families who work hard. I hope to see this being a time where maybe they can start to jump into the market. Yeah, it's not so frantic.
Yes,
with all of the mainland, with the cash and the mainland incomes and all of that. That's kind of what I hope, and I think we're seeing that a little bit.
That's good. Yeah. Because I think that I've also gotten quite a few questions from people saying, do they really want us there in Hawaii Island? Do you want us? Do people really want people to come and buy? And I said, you know what? Real estate just it's a cyclical thing. People come in, come off. It's this, but also they feel bad about pricing out the people who are local, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like you though. If the price comes down a little bit, so more people who are waiting can come into the market. Yeah. I think it helps our society. And so but the good news is that there's some people who are on the stream that have been waiting for 2 or 3 years to move to Hawaii, and now they're saying, okay, as soon as it gets to a certain point, I'm coming back in. right?
Yeah.
So hopefully when you guys get a chance to see what's happening with the market, you'll get a chance to say, hey, maybe now is the time to talk to Amber about trying to get into the market because prices might be stabilizing, going down a little bit.
Yeah.
So and then obviously there's no condos, but one of the things that we talked about was unpermitted buildings.
Yes.
Because people sometimes find that those are least expensive, but there are pitfalls to go with that. So tell them a little bit about what's happening with the pitfalls of trying to get houses that are unpermitted.
Oh yeah, this is like a topic on Big Island. So if you're coming from the mainland, this might be something that's not really on your radar. But there's a lot of property on the Big Island that was built without county permits. So sometimes that can look like maybe somebody had a house and they just made a little addition, maybe on the lanai or something, and they didn't get county permits. It's something that minor. Or it could be something major, like they built the entire house without permits and it's completely unpermitted and it's not up to code. And
yes, that does happen in Hawaii.
It happens more than you might think, those of you watching at home. So we see that a lot. And that is why you will hear me say, if you watch a lot of my content over and over again, like if a price looks too good to be true, it usually is. And one of the things about a lot of those properties is they are lacking county permits, either at a big level or a small level. The permitting process is difficult on the Big Island, and that's probably why we see it so much. People who want to build something fast and don't want to get caught up with the county permitting system have just skipped it altogether. But let's talk about how this could affect you guys.
That's right.
Okay.
Coming in and going out.
Okay. So if you're an all cash buyer, it's not as big of a deal when you're purchasing, at least, because you don't need to finance anything. You don't need to get an appraisal for your lending. So no big deal on the buying end. You can just pay cash for a completely unpermitted house or a house that maybe has some unpermitted issues. Now, however, if you're financing, which a lot of people are, when I bought my house, I got a mortgage. So my house, I had to, have it be subjected to an appraisal. And generally speaking, with appraisals, if there is square footage, bedroom, bathroom count that is not permitted, it just doesn't count generally toward the appraisal value.
Okay, so the appraisal is not going to turn you into the county, right?
I mean,
he just decides that, you know what, the county records and this house do not match. Therefore, we're going to go off of what is being permitted, and that's what I'm going to appraise on this house.
I mean,
or he might say, what the heck?
I'm not going to go on record saying that an appraiser would never turn something into the county.
Okay.
I've never seen it. I don't know what their motivation would be in doing that, but there's, there's been some weird stuff I've heard going on with people reporting unpermitted stuff to the county. Have you heard that?
No. Well, unless it's people who are, I guess what I've heard lately is they're throwing drones up over West Hawaii to look for what is going on with all these people up in the mountains and what they're doing with their building. So so there are people who are now looking because they want to go after them for property taxes.
Yeah,
and making sure that they're not having like a commune up there with 5 different small houses because there's more people in the county now that actually care what's happening on this island than when Eric and I showed up here 15 years ago. It was a Wild West. It was just like, you do whatever you need to do. And now they're getting serious and they're trying to figure it out and make it so that's, a little bit more,
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I have heard this year of people turning people into the county. So I am not sure, but it's very common on Big Island, and it's very common in East Hawaii for lacking of county permits. Now, this is an issue on the buying end. If you are getting a mortgage, you got to understand that you're going to be essentially probably needing to pay cash for that portion, if you will, of the property.
Okay.
Because it probably won't appraise.
Okay.
You got to be willing to do that going into it. We're still in a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. Things have slowed down, but this is still on paper what a seller's market looks like.
Yep.
So you got to come up with that cash probably. They might come down in price, but if they're disclosing, hey, the ohana's completely unpermitted, then you're kind of accepting that when you write an offer. And you don't want to get into contract with a property, set yourself up for failure, and not be able to execute because you can't get your full loan and you don't have the cash, or you're not willing to come up and meet that appraisal gap.
Right. So, so what we always say to people before they start looking for real estate,
get pre-approved.
That's right. Find out what you can qualify for.
Have these conversations with your lender and use a local Big Island lender if you can, because you will have a smoother transaction. Any experienced real estate agent on this island will tell you that.
Yeah. You know what? Some people are right now, especially because the rates are so wonky. People are shopping for rates.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you shop for rates and you come up across like a Rocket Mortgage or one of those big online banks,
Yeah.
they're trying to sell you the rate, right?
Yeah.
But what you found, I'm sure, and a lot of our realtor friends have found this, they don't know the Big Island.
They
And then
don't.
all of a sudden you go almost to the end of your thing and they say, what's this lava zone or what's this unpermitted issue, right?
What is a lava zone?
Right.
Says the underwriter on the 11th hour before final loan approval. I've never heard of a lava zone. I only do mortgages on the mainland. I don't think all of a sudden we want to lend here.
Right. That sounds risky to me.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to do it, or we're going to have to restructure how we do this loan. Or, you know, actually your insurance is going to be higher and now we got to recalculate everything. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's risky and it's even if sometimes maybe you're not getting the best deal on paper, you kind of got to decide, am I going to go with a deal that is more likely
To close.
to close? But also I've been hearing from a lot of lenders right now because things are shifting. It's like a shifty market. We don't know what's going on and rates are going up. They're offering some special things like buying down a point maybe for a buyer.
Yeah, yeah.
So
and I've
that's
also
some
heard of
ideas.
ones that you can you qualify for the full 30 year, but you don't have to pay the full 30 year for the first 2 years of the loan. And that way, if you had to get some extra money to renovate or do something, you could do that. But I was talking to the Win and Egan team actually has that one, and there's a local lender that's offering different programs to try and help you get in, but they're not those risky loans that they were giving away back in 2005 and 6. So
Yes.
you still have to be able to qualify to make sure that you can actually afford that house that you buy, right? But that they can fix up things to make it so that maybe there's a little bit of a giveaway in the very beginning of the loan, and then it kind of goes from the second. So again, and it works. Am I right? Let's say you live here for 2 years and you realize you don't want to live here anymore.
Yeah.
At least now you've had those 2 cheap years of mortgages.
Yeah, that's a cool loan program.
Right? Then you go, because you know what, this isn't working, goodbye. But with the permitting too is the fact that if you try and get out of a non-permitted or not all the way permitted house, what happens then?
Okay, so you got to think of it. We just talked about what happens on the buying end.
Mm-hmm.
So say you decide, 2 years, I don't have my job in Hawaii anymore, or it's too rainy here for me, or the cockroaches are too much, or whatever it is for your situation. I got to sell and I got to move back to Phoenix, Arizona. And I bought this house all cash in a frenzy, and it has no permits, and now I just realized I'm going to go sell it and it has no permits, and my buyer pool is like this. You know, and when I bought it, I was competing maybe with all of these buyers, but the market is probably going to be different in 2 years.
Yep.
And so you go to sell, and all of a sudden you have this cash only property lacking county permits. It's going to be harder and impossible for anyone else to finance, and it's going to be not worth less, but worth less money than had it been fully permitted. So you can run into problems, and I'm not going to be the one to tell you that you're never going to have ramifications from the county, or that somebody's not going to report it, or that you won't be forced to bring something up to code or take something away, because I am not the authority. I'm not the government.
Right.
You know,
Well, and you know, it's interesting you say that, because some people buy houses with unpermitted ohanas thinking that's going to help pay for their mortgage. And something could happen where the county comes in and says, you need to tear that thing down. It was never permitted. And then there goes your income.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say that wouldn't happen? It would be hard, because I don't think the county at this time has the capacity to regulate that kind of stuff. But
that's good news. You heard it here.
You know, just like when we always talk about the cesspool issues, like, we don't really have the capacity to address that in the way some of that legislation is coming down. However, it's something you still really need to be aware of as a buyer. And whenever you're buying real estate, no matter what your plans are in your life right now for that property, you could be turning around and selling it a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and the market could be different. And you really need to think about these little things like permitting and ability to get lending and financing on a property for the next buyer.
Right. In fact, help me if I'm right on this one, but you see a lot of these unpermitted houses down in, say, Lava Zone 1 and 2, and they're usually around like 200, 250. Isn't that kind of what most people can come up with cash?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times that's why the properties are so cheap, and a lot of those go cash only. So, yeah, and
so there you go. You buy a house for, let's say, $320, and then all of a sudden you have to go all cash on the back end of it, and most people don't have $300,000 in cash.
Yeah.
And then they can't get the loan because now it's unpermitted. So again, Eric and I were thinking about, I've heard this so many times now, we thought we were all clever. We were going to buy a container home.
Yeah,
And
I've heard that one a lot.
So we were going to put 3 containers on the property, put like one on top, make it all really cool. And then when we talked to a lender about that, they said you will never be able to get any lending on that. And on the back end, the only way you're going to be able to sell it to somebody is if they pay cash.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, why would we put so much money into the development around the whole area if we can't make it happen? And we said, you know what, we're not going to take the risk.
Yeah, it
So-
gets risky. It gets risky. So you really want to look at the details of the property, like permits, and you really want to do your homework, like we just said, ahead of time. Get your financing in place. Have the conversations with your lender about maybe like, hey, what if I run into a house that has some unpermitteds? That's what I call it. That's not a real word, I don't think, but unpermitted.
Unpermitted.
And what if I run into a house in Lava Zone 1 or 2? What if my income is from off island and not on island? These kinds of things that can really.
Yeah, and that was, we were talking about that too, that we had one of our clients was looking for homes in a certain price range based on knowing that they would have $2,000 or $3,000 coming in from the rental income. So they were looking like in the $1 million house range. And then when it got right down to it, they realized they couldn't qualify for it because they had erroneously thought that a lender would count that income into the amount that they were going to qualify for the house, and that is not the case. And I don't know how many lenders might even do that. Maybe that's just like, it doesn't happen. But if you're thinking about doing that as a strategy, talk to your lender about doing that to make sure that you are getting that information up front and not go into escrow and then all of a sudden, you're falling out of the contract and you've just kind of broken your dreams on that.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows who's maybe at the beginning of this process, a great thing about working with a local lender too that your realtor maybe recommends, and I'll always give people, several so they can find somebody who's really a fit for them and also encourage them to find their own. But if your lender and your realtor can have a good open line of communication, that can really help get ahead of a lot of these issues. So it is kind of nice when we work with a familiar lender and can make sure that we're setting everybody up for success.
Right. And that's another thing too, because when I first started buying houses and stuff, they didn't even have Rocket Mortgage and all the online stuff, right? Because now we realize too is that you get schmo as your loan officer when you're doing that. And then sometimes schmo loan officer doesn't have those relationships with people here where when you get somebody who's been here for, a long time, they understand the lay of the land, they know the realtors, they're a lot better resource for you than some young schmo on the mainland sitting in a call center. Yeah. And so, and maybe that works for like big metropolitan areas, but trying to do it here in Hawaii is just asking for frustration. So, so that would be my, just because, again, I've been here doing real estate work for 10 years, and whenever I hear of my personal friends saying why their deals fell apart, it's because they were trying to save a buck by using one of those big mortgage companies, and it just didn't work out. So, again, now that we've got these fluctuating rates, you're going to see a lot of advertising, right? Yeah. For like, oh, we're going to get you this. Yeah. Well, maybe not there, but not here.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's important to keep in mind. I will say this is a common thing that I've been running into a lot in the last month is buyers telling me how difficult and how surprised they are with the process of getting a mortgage right now. So I'm trying to figure out a little bit of it, I think, is that they have never bought a house in Hawaii, and there is perhaps more to it, especially when lenders are looking at where is your income coming from? Is it coming from on island? Can we prove this is remote income? Can we, that's a challenge that people face that a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes your income from somewhere else, they might not really count it here.
Right.
It's very specific to everybody's situation, but I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh man, they're asking me for so many documents and it's so much. And, you guys, this is kind of a good thing. It's not what happened before the bubble burst last time when there was all this predatory. They would give anything to anyone, and it's not easy to get a mortgage. It's not easy to get a mortgage in Hawaii, and it takes a lot of work. And I do think it is harder than on the mainland if you're coming from the mainland here. So I think that's normal. If you feel like it's a little bit overwhelming, that's normal. I hear that over and over again, and I'm hearing it more. And I know lending it's stricter now. They don't just give it to anyone.
Right. And also, you know what? If you, because I've heard these people too, I'm moving to the Hawaii. I'm moving to Hawaii now, and I'm going to be in my home by Christmas, and everything will be fine. It takes a while, so if you're already thinking about moving to Hawaii, you might want to try and find a lender sooner than later.
Yeah.
See what you qualify for. Ask them about the process.
Yeah.
And what is expected, so you'll have a better expectation of how long it's going to take. Because most of these mortgage, escrows are going 30, 45 days.
Yeah, I would say the average is more like 45 to 60 days, unless
60
it's
days.
all cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then just so that's kind of like that pushes it too.
Yeah.
And so just prepare yourself just to make sure that you have the expectation of how long it takes to find a house. Because obviously inventory is still tight, right?
It's still tight. It's getting better, though.
It's getting better. Because some people also think that they're going to find their dream house. They're flying here, and we know some people are actually doing that. When I fly to Hawaii, I'm going to start looking around neighborhoods, and I'm going to find the house I love. And I'm going to buy it before we get on that plane. I'm like, that might not happen.
It might not happen.
So again, keeping up with what's happening already in the market to get an idea. And again, I'm not always pushing Amber, but I am. If you are thinking about buying a house, Amber can get you on a listing alert, and therefore you can already start doing your research well before you actually have to start looking at the houses. You'll see what's the neighborhoods are, the prices, the kind of styles, and you know what? Doing your own research through that gives you a total leg up by the time it's time for you to pick a house to buy here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I like to sit down and have, a good conversation about a lot of these topics with my buyers right at the beginning. And then they it's on their radar, like, oh, this one seems kind of cheap. Like, no, then they'll shoot me a message. What's up with this one? Unpermitted.
Right.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on, or leasehold.
Or leasehold, yeah.
Or Lava Zone 1.
Right, and also Amber has access because now that I got my license, I see where the realtors have a little behind the scenes little chatty chat in the MLS, and it gives you liner notes about remarks about really what's kind of going on. Private remarks. So if you do find something, that's the reason why it's valuable to talk to an actual realtor and don't look just on Zillow, because Zillow does not have the private remarks to find out, is there a sticking point that you might need to know of? Because there's people who have this fantasy about how things are, and then you go, well, this is a story, right? And so getting that information before you get really tied into thinking that house is going to be yours tomorrow, that's a good one. That's value that Amber brings to the picture too.
Yeah, a realtor who has that MLS access can look at that and even go one step further, kind of dig into the property, call up the listing agent, find out even more information that might be in the private remarks. But some of the types of things we see there are, they'll just straight out say, we know this does not match county records, the bedroom, bathroom square footage count, or the seller had a survey done already and we are not going to pay for one, so don't even bother writing that in your offer. There's some little nuggets in there that are really helpful to know.
Right. And I one thing I learned about East Hawaii, because we actually sold a piece of property to somebody there. That old survey is actually a very good thing to have.
Yeah.
Because some of this land is just, it's lava land. It's jungle land. It's just, you need to actually have it staked and surveyed. So see the extra.
It's nice to see those stakes.
And know exactly where your property line lies.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're actually, with the shift.
Yes.
I'm gonna go along with that. I'm calling it a shift too. With the shift right now, another thing I am noticing is that the things that were more traditionally asked for from the buyer to the seller, we're kind of getting back to that. Now, the market was so frantic that when I wrote an offer, I could almost just guarantee to whoever I was writing the offer for, if I was representing them as their buyer's agent, like, hey, the seller's they're not gonna want to pay for a survey, they're not gonna want to pay for cleaning, it's probably gonna go above list price, we probably can't ask for anything, you just gotta give them everything, and don't ask for anything, and
throw in your first baby,
and your firstborn child, and what else do you want? And I think that's shifting too. Like, we're actually going to ask for some repairs that maybe we wouldn't have asked for. And this is actually sitting on the market for a while, and there's nothing wrong with this house. It's just more days on market. It's not so frantic. So that's stuff I'm noticing with this shift too. Maybe we're going to start asking for surveys on the regular again, and the sellers are going to realize, we're going to have to pay for them just like we used to.
Yes. And I think that's what a lot of realtors around the country are calling it's heading to a more normal market where realtors can sleep at night without having to go, oh my God, I went on the market at 3 a.m. But buyer, we have to put an offer in 3 hours, which is good. So, and then as you guys continue to watch what's happening here, are we headed towards how much of a slowdown? I do think there is some slowing. I mean, we're seeing that. In that kind of sense, we're seeing that.
Definitely slowing.
And again, I don't think, listening to the way things are going right now, I don't think we're going to be in a crash.
I mean, what we're seeing makes sense. Let's think about it. We had a major world event.
Right.
We're seeing an adjustment. We're seeing inflation. We saw mortgage rates so low for kind of a crazy amount of time. Like
too long.
That
too long,
had
too
to
long.
change.
Yeah.
We knew when the rates changed, the market would change. So everything we're seeing, to me, I'm like, yeah, this tracks. Why are we all surprised?
No.
This tracks for me. It's different than when the bubble burst last time, and there was all of this, predatory lending and crazy stuff going on. Like, that isn't the exact same situation that we're seeing right now, but it's definitely a slowing shift.
Well, and I think too is that, and people are talking about this too, is that I haven't seen this in my personal life because a lot of my friends are retired, but some people are not getting the job offers they wanted, or they're losing their jobs. And then the stock market has lost a lot of its value. So investors don't have the money they have to spend. Or people are just feeling like, you know what, I'm just going to sit and tight and just hang on.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of a pullback for a variety of reasons. And when people pull back, sellers start going like this. Hey, I got a house.
Yeah.
And then the people who have to leave will be the people that will be able to you negotiate the most with, right? And so when you see the words, I have a motivated seller, those are the ones that you want to make deals with, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just see how it goes with the market, and with it just seems that right now we're in this kind of like shifty.
It is shifty.
WTF experience where we're not seeing anything totally crazy that we're gonna have headlines and clickbaity experience with you guys. But stay tuned, and Amber's coming back. Obviously next month we're going to do this the first Wednesday of the month. These are one of we just got the statistics like today from last month's numbers. So you guys are basically getting the numbers before everybody else on the island. But also know that we are here for a resource for you. I do have a moving guide for East Hawaii that I can give to you for free. Also, if you want to hook up with Amber, she'll put her contact information down below in both YouTube and also in Facebook. Great resource here for you that, she does Zoom calls. She can talk to you guys. If you're thinking about moving to the island and just kind of want to get a general sense of kind of how things are, Eric and I sometimes offer those Zoom calls too. In fact, we're getting one tomorrow from a person that's been offered a great job, but she's 6 months pregnant. And she's going like, my husband has to be near a hospital or this, that, and other thing. And where should I live? So we can help with location. But when you want to know more about like lifestyle and more of the pricing and stuff, especially in East Hawaii, there's our expert.
Yeah, give me a call.
So is there any questions coming in from Facebook? No? Okay. And that's another thing too. If you are on the Facebook group, you can ask her these questions in person. Basically, it's live. And if you're over here on YouTube, go ahead and leave some comments and some questions, and we'll get to them as we can, and we can answer them on the next one as well. But for the most part, know that we're doing the best we can. Right, to give you guys the information from East Hawaii, and we also bring you guys the Zoom that we do at the third Thursday of the month, and Amber throws in on that one, and it's basically an overall discussion on what's happening in the entire island, and Amber hits East Hawaii, but we also talk about the whole island as well as West Hawaii, up in North Kahala, and everywhere. So if you are looking and you're not too sure where you want to live on the island, hit us on that one, and again, Eric and I are open to taking phone calls about helping you guys make a decision. So